The hidden cost of ignoring your intuition. There's a small, quiet voice that lives inside you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg. It simply whispers, a subtle tug. A feeling in your chest. A knowing in your gut. It speaks before logic kicks in. Before fear chimes in. Before the noise of the world gets too loud to hear anything at all. That voice is your intuition. And if you've ever ignored it, you already know the price you pay isn't always immediate. Sometimes it's a delayed ache. A regret that arrives in the stillness of a sleepless night. Sometimes it's a slow drift away from your authentic self. Until you wake up one day wondering why everything looks perfect on the outside, but feels wrong on the inside. Intuition is one of the most powerful tools we have. Not because it's magical or mystical, but because it's deeply human. It is the product of lived experience, emotional intelligence, subconscious perception, and hard-earned wisdom. And yet, in a world obsessed with rationality, metrics, and external validation, we've learned to silence it. But the silence comes with a cost. It's the cost of staying in a relationship long after it's drained your spirit, because the checklist looks good. Or because you're afraid of starting over. It's the cost of taking a job that pays well but slowly robs you of your soul, because it was the smart thing to do. It's the cost of saying yes when your entire body is screaming no, because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. That's the hidden toll, the erosion of self-trust. When you ignore your intuition long enough, you start believing you can't trust yourself. You start outsourcing your decisions to others, to society, to your friends, to your past. But the deeper you bury your inner knowing, the more you lose touch with who you really are. And that's when life starts to feel hollow. We live in an age where data is king. We're taught to rely on logic, analysis, and facts, and rightfully so. Critical thinking has its place. Rationality builds bridges, cures diseases, and puts rockets into space. But not every decision in life can be made with spreadsheets and flowcharts. Some of the most pivotal moments in your life come down to a quiet voice inside saying, "This is right," or "This feels wrong." Think about the people you've trusted, or distrusted, in an instant. The places you've entered that felt either grounding or unsettling. The moments when something seemed too good to be true. There's a part of you that knows long before your mind catches up. And it's not irrational, it's intelligent. Your intuition is the result of 1,000 subconscious calculations. It's your life experience distilled into instinct. But when you live disconnected from that inner compass, you risk becoming a stranger to yourself. You begin making decisions from the outside in, rather than from the inside out. And no matter how much success or security those outside-in decisions bring, they never feel like home. Ignoring your intuition often starts innocently. You make a compromise here, a concession there. You tell yourself you're being mature, practical, or accommodating. And sometimes you are. Not every gut feeling is gospel. But there's a difference between healthy compromise and self-abandonment. And it's a very thin line. Over time, the more you override your instincts, the more you chip away at your own voice. And eventually, you stop hearing it altogether. You confuse people pleasing with kindness. You mistake anxiety for logic. You interpret guilt as a sign that you're doing something wrong, even when that guilt is just your conditioning reacting to your growth. That's the trap. Because intuition doesn't always make sense in the moment. Sometimes it tells you to walk away from stability. Sometimes it urges you to risk embarrassment, to take a leap, to speak the truth. It can feel irrational, uncomfortable, even scary, but more often than not, that discomfort is growth in disguise. And when you ignore it, you stay small. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius believed in reason, but they also believed in alignment, that the soul has a nature, and we must live in accordance with it. Stoicism is not about blind logic. It's about harmony between reason and virtue. And sometimes, your intuition is the only thing standing between the two. When something feels wrong, even if it looks right, you must pay attention. When your stomach tightens before a meeting, or your chest constricts before saying yes to something you don't want, these are not random signals. They are messages. They are your soul's attempt to steer you back to your truth. And if you ignore them, life will keep teaching you the same lesson until you listen. The cost of ignoring your intuition isn't just missed opportunities or delayed dreams. It's a fundamental break in your relationship with yourself. It's second-guessing your every move. It's becoming so disconnected that you look in the mirror and no longer recognize who you've become. And that pain? It runs deep. Because underneath it all, what we really long for is alignment. To live a life that feels like our own. Not one scripted by fear. Not one built on approval. But one that reflects our values. Our essence. Our purpose. That can't be found by following the crowd. It's uncovered by listening deeply, patiently, and courageously to the voice within. Reconnecting with your intuition doesn't require grand gestures. It begins in the small moments. When you pause before responding. When you take a breath before reacting. When you check in with how something feels. Not just how it looks. It means learning to trust your body again. Your emotions. Your nervous system. Not to be ruled by them, but to be guided with them. It means allowing yourself to know what you know, even when it's inconvenient. Even when others don't understand. Even when it leads you down a path no one else would choose. Because your path is not for everyone. It's for you. And only you can walk it. But you cannot walk it with confidence if you keep silencing the part of you that knows the way. So if you find yourself at a crossroads, unsure, conflicted, searching for the right answer, try asking a different question. What does my gut say? What is the voice beneath the noise trying to tell me? And if you can't hear it right away, be still. The world may demand urgency, but your intuition requires quiet. Don't rush clarity. Let it come. Let it rise. The truth is, you were never really lost. You were just distracted. Distracted by expectations, fears, and the noise of a world that profits from your disconnection. But your intuition never left you. It's been waiting for you to come back home. In the end, the hidden cost of ignoring your intuition isn't just wrong decisions. It's a life that doesn't feel like yours. It's waking up one day surrounded by things you said yes to, when your heart was quietly begging you to say no. But the good news? You can start listening again, right now. In this moment, with this breath. Because the voice you've been ignoring isn't gone. It's still whispering. Are you ready to hear it?